Welcome back to the Comics Cube, everyone. Today we're talking about a comic that came out in 1988 called Brought to Light: 30 Years of Drug Smuggling, Arms Deals, and Covert Operations that Robbed America and Betrayed the Constitution. This is a very rare comic. If you look for this on Amazon, it can fetch you up to over $200 if it's in good condition. This is not in good condition. It's actually falling off the binding here. But I actually read this book back in the early 2000s when I was in college. I got it off an interlibrary loan. I've always wanted my own copy. It was always too pricey. I have not seen it since until yesterday when a friend of mine that I made from making this channel named James Smith basically just sent it to me. So it just showed up in my mail. I got a call from my mail people downstairs, and then they said I had a package, and I opened it up, and it was brought to light. So that's pretty cool. James is a cool guy. You guys should subscribe to his YouTube channel, which should be showing up right around where I'm pointing. So Brought to Light is based on the research of the Christic Institute, trying to kind of expose what the CIA was up to back in the 80s. So it's also a flip book. So there's two stories here. Over on this side is called Flashpoint, the Lepenka bombing. It's a straightforward journalistic telling of the Lepenka bombing in Nicaragua. It was researched, investigated by Martha Honey and Tony Avergan, and told to Joyce Brabner, who wrote the script, and Thomas Yates, who ended up drawing the story. But if you're on my channel, you've seen the interviews that I've done, I'll bet anything that you guys are more interested in this side, because this side is called Shadowplay: The Secret Team. It's still based on the research that was done by the Christic Institute about the CIA. And the conceit here is that the CIA agent is actually trying to explain things from his point of view and make sure that everyone is, everything is explained and everything is justified. And the CIA agent is depicted as an American eagle in a suit. It's also 30 pages written by a guy named Alan Moore and drawn, painted, and lettered by a guy named Bill Sienkiewicz. So I think you guys will find this really interesting, because what we're going to do now is I'm going to flip through Brought to Light Shadowplay. While I'm doing it, Bill is going to tell us about some stuff that happened soon after this book was published. So let us know what you think in the comments down below, and be sure to click like, share, and subscribe. Did you ever get in trouble with the government for Brought to Light?
No, although I did have some really weird kind of experiences like around that time. Because I was like visiting, I would go listen to discussions with the Christic Institute with Daniel Sheehan and Joyce Brabner, Harvey Picar's widow. Actually, one of the benefits of that was that I got to know Harvey real well. But I really loved him. He was great. Joyce was an interesting, person to sort of get into the stuff politically. But I do know that when I was working on Brought to Light, I remember my studio was in the very center of Westport, and across the street there was the YMCA, and so sometimes I would just live in my studio and just work out and then shower and stuff at the Y. And I remember at night, there was since the place was closed, but there was for a period of a couple of weeks, there was a white van, unmarked white van that was parked across the street, and there was no other cars around, And there was a couple of times when I got a phone call and I would pick it up and I'd hear the last conversation I had, like the tail end of it, and then the line would go dead. So I don't know if any of that, it's like, I'm not going to talk about lizard people. I'm not going to go all Alex Jones or anything else, but there were some weird things that happened, especially, and it's certainly I can say that I've not had any reason to feel any more benign about the like the corporate and the corporate democracy, Democrats, or big business and everything else. I mean, I have my suspicions about a lot of things, and because I think probably on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being conservative and 10 being liberal, I'm probably like 11 and above, and probably towards communist, in certain ways.
Yep.
I'm a big believer in, healthcare for all and all of that stuff, and I do feel that during periods of authoritarianism and other kinds of political upheaval, the arts always sort of push their way through. I think something remarkable happens in the arts, and I'm not saying we hey, we should all hope for authoritarianism so that arts can get great. I think it's kind of a byproduct and a necessary upheaval. But it'll be interesting to see what interesting, fascinating kinds of art comes from this. But that's just my own speculation.